here's the thing about using a big knife for a task like this, is you do have a lot of cutting surface, which is nice. So there's a lot of area to stay sharp. And I'm not cutting against my knee. I'm cutting against a patch of leather, for those of you who don't see that. It gives you a lot of cutting surface. So if you dull a spot out, which I have on this blade at this point, I'm ready to actually not totally reprofile it. I'm ready to actually sharpen it, not just hone it. I will have to sharpen it at this point because I've used this quite a bit, and that's a good thing. I like it. But at this point, I do need to touch up that edge, get it sharper. Making the outline for the stone that's going to go in here. So as I'm getting ready, this is the sharpening stone that I just made earlier this morning by taking some sandstone, taking the two flattest rocks I could get, grinding them, getting them wet, and then grinding them again. I got a nice flat stone here, which I'm actually going to use for a different knife that I just picked up at a pawn shop. Just a little, like, old time folding knife, you know, like with a half stop. It's a slip joint style. Anyways, when I'm cutting out this notch, and it's a pretty sizable notch, it's a lot bigger notch than you usually would cut out. The precision element isn't going to be quite as good, but I can still get a lot of control because I can choke up on that big blade, and I can get reasonable amounts of wood still out of this because I've got a little bit of a sharp spot left over right here that I haven't overly used. I did ding it up on a rock earlier today, which is a real shame, but I mean, it's a knife, so it's going to get used. And honestly, the MagnaCut has been really good. It's stropped so many times at this point where I'm surprised it took this long before I had to actually sharpen it and take some material away. I think I'm about done with the general form. Now I just need to make one little outline for an oddity in the stone. Then I'll drop it in here and sharpen my little pocket folding knife inside of this. The reason that I made this is, first of all, because I wanted to test this Reef Knives out some more and make more content with it, because I love it. I love Reef Knives. They're awesome. I just like all of their products. I'm a really big fan of their handle and their materials and their owner. I think he's a pretty solid guy. He's the real deal. Anyways, I wanted to get something where I could drop the stone in, and when you get the stone in there, it's a little easier and it's a little safer on a small stone. Let me see if I can get this out of my pocket. Man, that was way harder than it should have been. So when you have a stone in the hand, let me just take this out in my hand. As you're sharpening the blade, here's this little blade. This is from, who is it? I looked it up when I was in the shop, and it's worth a little bit of money, actually, if it was in mint condition, but it is just it's a Seneca utility, I don't know. It's hard to read that. Whatever it is. There's the stone. And when you're sharpening in your hand, you're just bringing the blade really close to your fingers all the time because it's such a small stone. And it seems like there's a good chance of actually hurting myself doing this too often. I can try to hold it on the bottom, be a little safer. It's no big deal. But for fun, I thought it would be interesting to give myself a little more of a platform, and the idea would be now I have just more space and I can be a little bit more aggressive with the pattern without fear of cutting myself against this. And actually this is working surprisingly well. It's taking off a decent amount of material. I think I did a good job with getting this stone flat in the first place. So this isn't quite ready yet. I need to get the form a little bit tighter. But once I get that jigged, I can drop it in there and kind of press fit it and then use it really, really well and safely. Something kind of nice about any sort of plastic or Kydex sheath is that when you're ready, like I've been using this a bunch, and I actually got it really, really wicked sharp. I've got a leather strop here, but I've got one spot that is a little flaky. And a plastic sheath is actually a really nice tool to find where that spot is and level it out. It'll grab a flake and bring it back the right direction a little better than most other materials. You can use wood, you could use cardboard, you could use glass on a window. Lots of things you could use. The leather eventually will get there, but this Kydex on the sheath actually provides a nice uniform surface. So it's just one more use for the Kydex sheath, and I can tell it took that burr out of there. It's not cutting the Kydex. Ooh, that worked pretty good. And now I can go to one of the sides. I have a fluffy side and a flat side. No compound, but it is really smooth. And I can do that about 20 times. Not too hard, not too aggressive. But that will get this shaving sharp. In fact, it already is. Oh yeah. Already hair popping sharp. A couple rough spots in there, but it's already hair popping sharp. Off of a stone I picked up off of the ground. Just a nice flat stone. It's got a pretty hard snap. Kind of cool. Unfortunately, I have to cut this one a little shorter than intended. Had an emergency at home, so I'm running home to take care of something real quick. But here are some of my closing thoughts. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the sheath. I do like it. There's no rattle at all. Like, I can really whip this thing around. There's no rattle. It's just nice because I don't want the blade wiggling around in there. It just makes me feel like it's a little more secure. You have a lot of attachment points on the sheath. You can see just how many rivets there are in that. And then it comes with this fire steel loop, which fit my, I think that was a 5/16, maybe a 1/4 inch, but fit my fire steel that I made. And I'm able to loop it around there, which is nice. I really like having it on the front. Having it on the side can be good if it's on this side. I don't like typically having my fire steel on this side if it hangs out, because typically it'll go up here right into the finger guard position, and it gets in the way from me actually grabbing the knife and pulling it out. So if I can get it on the front of the knife or up here somehow, that is my preference for fire steels. And the thumb depress is nice and smooth. Sharp edges it's been deburred, I'll say, in all ways. Sharp edges seem to be taken care of and addressed, melded together nicely. You do have a drainage hole on the bottom, a pretty generous drainage hole, which is a good idea. You don't want a pinhole because it'll still retain water. So this one is actually like a drop size. And it still has a rivet at the bottom. So if your blade gets really pushed in hard, like this, and you don't have a rivet close enough to the bottom, you can potentially push your blade into a weak spot. It could push through. It could grind up against another rivet if you didn't have one on the end. So I'm going to say the execution on the sheath is fantastic for safety and practicality. The thumb depress, like I said, works really nicely. It's not sharp. It's not too much effort, but it does retain really well. I don't know if this is exactly jumpable because it doesn't have a strap down here, but it does hold it upside down. It's not something that's a big concern for me. One thing I like about this is just how well the blade goes in, because it has a little bit of a flare for your handle scales. These reef knives have really good handle scales. And there's a little bit of a flare for dropping it in, so it goes in really smooth, but then it retains really well, and it does click into place. It gives you that really positive retention feeling. So again, the Kydex sheath is phenomenal. The pocket clip, some people might prefer other kinds of pocket clips, and you could still do something with this. I can imagine somebody throwing on some sort of ulti clip or another strap, maybe if you want to scout carry, whatever you want to do. You could probably figure that out, but this is the kind that can twist around, and you could carry this cross draw. You could kind of carry it scout carry if you wanted to in one way or another. This clip has not come off too terribly easy. It's a little bit softer material than the Kydex is. It is flexible, and it goes on and off on my belt without a lot of trouble. So this was just a fun video for me because I want to tell you that this sheath option is awesome. I like leather, and I have the leather sheath, and sometimes in the winter the leather is superior for one reason or another. But in the summertime, very often I'm going to wear it with this clip. It's just so easy to clip onto things, whether that be my backpack or my pocket or my belt. You know, MOLLE gear in general, it works really well with that. So I'm happy to report that this is a good sheath. It makes the blade more usable for me. And if you're looking at an option, I can highly recommend the Kydex option just as much as the leather option. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you like stuff like this, maybe you should watch my actual review of the Reef Knives F6. I have done both the 3V version as well as the Magna Cut version.